Welcome, everybody, to this next episode of Small Business Small Talk. I am your host, Christy Smallwood. And again, welcome. I say welcome a lot and thank you a lot. So just get used to that as well as you listen to the podcast, because I do. I say that a whole big bunch. So Small Business Small Talk is a show that educates, engages, and empowers you to do big things within your small business. And there's a little entertainment value as well, because you just never know where a conversation is going to go with small business leaders in the community. So because we're not the we're definitely not the uptight people in the world. We are the go-getters, right? We have to find humor everywhere we go just to make it through most days. So I'm your host, Christy Smallwood. I am the Chief Strategic Guide of Eagle Eye Strategies based here in Louisville, Kentucky. And I'm also part of the Chamber of St. Matthews, which for the podcast of Small Business Small Talk is a sponsor partner. I'm so excited to always throw a shout out to our chamber here in St. Matthews. And with that, also, my next guest is a member of the Chamber of St. Matthews. So this is how we met. Very excited to talk to her today. Now I'm going to go ahead and set the tone, because most of the time I'm going to have a business owner, right? Most of the time I'll have small business owners on, or those business development people, just to talk about businessy stuff. But this was a little different because she works in education for Webster University. But here's the beautiful thing about it. What they do is do everything to make you better. Like, you and your people need continuing education. So part of what I do with Eagle Eye Strategies is training and development. So I have a high value in continuing education. And like my grandmama said, never stop learning. So I've been very excited to get to know Wanda a little bit better. I'm welcoming in Wanda Shaw with Webster University here in Louisville, Kentucky. Welcome in, Wanda.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate this so much. This opportunity is just great. So
I can't wait.
I'm happy to be here.
I'm so excited for you too. And for those of y'all who don't know, we're doing this on a Saturday. Like, we are just hanging out like two girls. We've already talked hair before in the green room. So there's always stuff that you miss in the proverbial green room before we hit the record button.
Oh yeah. Too bad. Too bad for them. Sorry for them. Yes, sorry. Okay.
So Wanda, give us your backstory. So how did you get to where you are now?
Okay, sure. It's accidental because I've done so many things in my life. I wasn't broadcasting years ago.
Broadcasting? You did broadcasting?
Yeah, radio. Did radio. It was a small market, South Bend, Indiana. Yeah, people don't know that because I'm shy. I'm shy. And people, when I told people that I worked for a radio station, they said, well, you don't act like a DJ or something. You know, why are you so shy? You just don't talk much. But I said, okay, well, I don't. Except when I get behind a mic, then I let loose. But it was, first of all,
there's the magical thing about microphones, isn't there?
Yeah, it is. It's just you and whoever the microphone. You don't think about what's beyond that microphone. And first of all, I graduated from Purdue University. I was in psychology, but I switched over because I said grad school. They said it's grad school. I said, no, I don't want to do that. I want to get out of here. So I switched over to liberal
No more boilers.
Communications. I loved it though. And I got out and I didn't know what I was going to do. So I thought about, I wanted to work at Walt Disney, but then that didn't pan out. I didn't get the job. So they had an opening at a Christian radio station. And I said, well, let me take my chances. And I applied and I got the job. It was in board work, just board operations. Then they eventually put me behind the mic overnight. And I did that for 7 years. And then after that, a friend of mine left that station, went to a top 40 station across the way in Mishawaka, Indiana. And he says, well, we got a spot, a midday spot. You want to slide in? I said, well, yeah, I do. And I was one of the first ones because there was a male that held that slot before. But I came in, took it over, and I stayed there for a good while. I'm going to say about maybe 9 years. And then did a late night jazz program, which was recorded, but it went number one in its time slot. It was like late at night. I was thinking, okay, this is
Jazz
good.
at night. Yeah, of
Jazz
course
at night.
that
It was
would.
the Quiet Storm, and yes, I was recorded, and I did the sounders for it, and I was like, this is fun. I love doing the sounders. But eventually it switched over to country, that station. And I don't know. I guess they didn't offer me a time slot. So I left radio for good at that time. Well, not really for good, but I just took a break. And
Radio, if you've been in radio, radio tends to bounce back in you somehow.
yes, it does. And it's starting to get in me a little bit. It's just like, okay, what do I want to do next? Okay, but that's another time, another situation. So in the process, got married. Um, my husband worked for Ford, and he was working in the sales end, so we bounced around a little bit. And I'd done a lot of things. Went into healthcare. We moved to Connecticut, and I did some healthcare things. Um, I enjoyed it. Ironically, I did. But we stayed there for 8 years. Then we made a full circle because we came back to the Midwest, landed here in Louisville. And I went back to the healthcare field over in Indiana. And then my sister-in-law said, well, they have this opening at this college. It's small, it's an extended college. Would you like to interview for them and interview for the job? I said, well, what is it? It's sort of like a community relations recruitment coordinator kind of thing. I said, sure, why not? She knew someone there, and I did, and I landed and ended up getting the job. And it's like, okay, and that's how it started. Now, and
So,
there,
okay, hang on. Let me point out something to people. She claims that she's shy and now she's a community director.
yeah, they changed the title of recruitment coordinator. So yeah, that's kind of it. I had to get out of the shyness because I had to talk to people. It's like
Uh-huh.
actual people, adults, trying to sell them on the idea of going back to graduate school. So yeah,
Which
so
you
here
said, no, I didn't want to do that back in the day.
I want to hang behind the mic, stay there, but yeah, it was fun. Yeah, it was fine. So here
And
I
that's
am.
that is definitely one of the good lessons about, being in business for yourself. All of our owners
Mhm.
have to learn how to sell the business themselves.
Yes, and that's
And
the tough one.
more often than not, I would say a good 60-70% of business owners don't know sales
That's true. That's true.
and let alone marketing to go with sales.
Mhm,
So just
mhm.
how to talk to people to then
Yeah.
lead them into that conversation. It's not just a talent, it's a learned skill, but if you don't continually learn communication skills,
Yes,
it's
right.
hard to get good at sales.
Yes. I try to take pointers from my husband because he's good at sales. It's about relationship building. Now with him, he was in heavy trucks, and it wasn't the type of things like I can't talk, automobiles. It had to do with these big heavy trucks that cost thousands and thousands of dollars. So it turned very slowly, but he was able to build these people's their confidence. And I would look at him sometimes about and hear what he says, and I'm thinking like, okay, let me really just hone into what he's doing. So it is about relationship building. You have to know how to relate to the person and listen to what their needs are before you sell. And same here with what we're doing here. Now, let me talk about Webster a little bit.
Absolutely, bring it on.
We are well, I will say this. This is our tagline. We are a global company, institution. We are on 4 continents, 8 countries, 60 cities. Now, within the 60 cities, we are is pretty much based in America. So but we have global campuses. And what it is, the extended campuses, which is one of the ones that is in Louisville, Kentucky, we have what's called the graduate programs. Now, the St. Louis, where there's the main campus, that's where all the undergraduate programs are. But all the extended campuses, graduate level. So what we do is try to get graduate students to come back for their MBAs or their MA, Master of Arts degrees. So when you're talking to a client who is a professional, which is our top market and our key persons, um, first of all, we got to really listen. Okay, what is it that you're wanting to do with this degree? Okay, I know that you want to go back and advance your skills. So, and then what? What do you hope to do with it?
And then what?
And then what? And then what? And it keeps going, and then what? And then and to the point where you wear them down, and then they have questions and think, what? Maybe I better explore this a little bit. And eventually they do come back around and they think, okay, yeah, I really want to do this with my career. If I am trying to open a business or be an entrepreneur, of course, I want an MBA, but how do I go about doing that? Or what is the program about? What is it like? And I have to go into the explanations of, you know, economics, accounting, marketing is all are part of this program. And also our management leadership and also human resources is comprised in that as well. So if that's what you want to get to the C level suite, yeah, graduate level degree will help you. And we also have graduate certificates too. So
Yeah, and trying to build a business from scratch, I've learned a lot.
have you?
And I read a book, and it's Leadership by the Book, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Or anyway, I've got books over here, and some of them are older. And this one that was, when I say older, I still have one from like the 80s that this guy built his businesses from scratch, and he's like, the biggest mentors I ever had were trial and error, because he just didn't know, right? And so if you could invest in yourself and find all of the shortcuts, how much faster can your business grow because you've been shown the way?
Right. That's true. That is true. And the same way with education, you develop skills. And I'm not saying that you will make $1 million. I don't try to sell it from that point of view, because even if you're talking about a master's degree from Harvard, they can't guarantee that.
No.
They just can't. No graduate school can. But it gives you an opportunity, as one of our professors says, sit at the table. And it gives you a sort of a leverage point, a launching point. And what you do with it, how far you advance, it's up to you.
It's up to you. That's that taking self responsibility.
That is right. That is, it's and you can sit there through the classes and matriculate, as one of our students said, and you can just go through the motions, or you can really engage and really learn and get involved in the learning, and then come out, oh wow, add value to your organization once you do get that graduate degree.
Absolutely.
So,
Because you're right. There is a difference between somebody who sits there and goes through the motions, or like, I'm just getting the certificate to get out.
Yes, that's it.
And then somebody who does it with the whole intent of the next place I go, I'm already set to provide value. Exactly. So again,
value creation.
Yes.
That's a catchphrase.
Is it really? Look at me.
It is. It's one of our catchphrases. Part of our MBA program. We've completely redesigned that program. Now, a lot of the graduate programs around, which there are some good ones here in Kentucky. There's Louisville, and there is Kentucky, University of Kentucky. But what sets ours apart is that it's more application. We've gotten away from the theory part of it, because we've talked to our graduate students when they were going through, and they've helped us redesign it. And they said, well, before we had to write a lot of papers. That didn't help me very much. And it's like, okay, that's a good point. So what is it that you want to do? Okay, we want to get in and start, developing, getting our hands dirty, developing strategies off the bat. So when we get into the organization, we can target those problems and develop solutions. So that graduate program is like that. It develops that. And I'm so proud of it. And I try to push it a lot, not just because it's one of our premier programs, it's a flagship, but I think it's really good. So, and people do come out a little bit more with the value creation, as you were saying, as we were saying. So, yeah.
Yeah. Now I know here in the Louisville market, it's saturated. It's pretty
Oh,
saturated with educational.
yes,
They,
yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
so, but I've even known about Webster for more than a handful of years because I knew
Really?
some of all of your predecessors back in the
Uh-huh.
day.
Uh-huh.
So that's why I've been excited to get to know you. Is like who's
Uh-huh.
taking care of Webster now in the area. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
this has been great. Okay, so what is something that your background is so different, technically different than
Hmm.
what you're doing now? What do you love about what you do now?
The people. And it's
Okay.
about purpose, 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 purpose. It's through me that I could impart someone or give someone hope. Now, a lot of the graduate programs, if you know, to apply, you have to go through a GRE, GMAT testing. Now, that is an expensive test. It's not to say that that tool isn't effective in gauging your success in a graduate program, but if you've been out of school, which some of our students have for 15, 10, 20 years, same here, last thing you want to do is sit in a room and try to regurgitate everything that you learned in your undergraduate program when you've been removed from it. It's just one less barrier we try to remove. And a lot of the other adult continuing education programs that a lot of the schools are picking up, like Spalding and things like that, they're doing the same thing, getting rid of it because it's a barrier that you've got a lot on your plate. You're taking care of your parents, probably you probably have school age kids that are going to college themselves or going to high school. You don't have the time, and those tests are expensive, trust me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen this study guide for a
Mm,
GMAT.
mm,
Like, no, nobody's got time for that.
mm. Not when you're an adult and your brain is probably not. No, wait a minute. What's that algebra class I learned in undergrad? What was it again? Oh,
I had flipped one open and I started seeing geometry stuff, and I was like, no, nope, we're gonna
no.
just set that back.
I know. And that's what stopped me initially from going back to pursue my graduate degree back when I was in South Bend. My mother kept pushing me. She says, why don't you go back and get your graduate degree? I said, well, nah, I really don't want to. So I took one graduate class while I was at Purdue. And then they said, well, would you like to go a little further? And I said, well, yeah, well, you have to take the GMAT exam. And said, well, what is that? I just like, I was young then. They said, well, it's a graduate exam that shows your skills and gauges your ability to finish graduate school. I said, okay. And back then it was probably, I'm going to say it was $60, but back in those days, but now it's hundreds of dollars.
Oh, ouch.
And if you don't pass, you got to take it again. So,
Oh, that's an expensive learning lesson, isn't
yes,
it?
it is. It is. Those medical school exams, LSAT for law school, they're equally as expensive. So,
That's amazing,
yeah.
to test our knowledge base.
Yes, and it's not to say that our students, like I said, I will reiterate, it's not the fact that it's not an effective tool. I just have to say that again because schools do use them, and
Yes.
to some degree, we do use them with the MBA finance part because you have to know the finance to get into that program. However, we just don't, we want to remove the barriers. We don't want to say that, okay, you aren't going to be successful in this program because we don't know who's going to be. Somebody who maybe graduated who was average in undergrad will just absolutely kill the program when they get into graduate
Right.
school because they've learned so much and they're at the top of their game. A lot of them that come in our program, they're like managers, supervisors, they're going up the ladder in their careers. So they're not, some fly by night students. They're skilled, they're very accomplished, and they're serious.
Which is awesome. I mean, because you want quality people to be taking so that they will see it all the way through. Like if you're
Yes,
putting effort and energy into a student,
yes,
really of any
yes,
level, you
yes.
love to see them see it through for
Oh,
themselves.
yes, 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 yes. I am proud. I become a proud mama when they go through, because at the graduations, I've only participated in two. In fact, I got my graduate degree too, so I can say yeah.
Oh, congratulations. We forgot to mention that part. Yay.
Yeah. So I did finish through Webster, but anyway, when they walk across and get that degree, I am so proud and I'm happy and I'm near tears. I'm tearing up a little bit because I know the struggles and I know that, what they've gone through. Some have had, deaths in the family. They've had to stop out for a little bit, take a break, come back, finish. And so when they cross that stage, I'm just like, yes, yay, yay, you did it. So we're happy for them. And it's a lot of life situations so that come in, and we're so small at our campus is that we try to uh, I guess hunt in on the small aspect of it, because everybody that comes in, they're more than just a student number.
Right.
They come in with everything, their families, they come in with their job situations, they come in with everything. So we try to get to know them personally. What's going on with you? So if something's happening, if there's a change in the family, they've had a baby, we know about it. Yeah, so yeah. That's the neat part about it. And it's the purpose, because I am helping to give them hope. And that's the only, that's the one thing I hope in this world, or I look forward to in this world, wherever I go, whatever's next for me. I want to be a conduit so that people can see their purpose through me. So it's just like, yeah, okay, yeah, I help
I
have a
love
hand
that.
in.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm
Mm.
loving the caliber of communication I'm having with small business small talk guests for this season, because that has been one
Uh-huh.
of the themes, is having this purpose, like knowing why you do what you do has been
Yeah.
so significant. And I don't call it, chalk it up to 2020, like it's brought to life why purpose is so important, because you're focusing on specific, like what's really important right now. So, you know,
Right. Right.
right? So aside from 2020, what has been a big challenge that you've had to overcome, and how did you do that?
Oh gosh. Personally or professionally?
Either, because one affects the other, you know?
Well, okay. Professionally, yes, it's been I guess it has been a challenge because the academic advising part of the job, that's something that I've had to struggle with because I can barely manage my own life, let alone manage somebody else's. But yeah, I've overcome. Yeah, I take that back. You can strike that. But yeah,
You're a mom though,
just getting
right?
you.
You
No,
have
I'm not. I am not. I
Oh,
have no
okay.
children. I've not been
Okay.
blessed with any. So is I've had a dog who was my child. We had him for 12 years. No, 14 actually. That dog, I tell you, he can open doors. He's a German Shepherd, purebred. His name was
Oh,
Raleigh. Oh, I love the dog. He beat heartworm, advanced stages of that, and he beat cancer and lived to die of old age. So
oh,
that's the only thing that took him down, old age.
old
So he
age.
was just, yeah, old age. He's 14 years old. So it's
That's
just
a
like he's
pretty long life for a dog, that big, especially a big
yeah, for a
dog.
German Shepherd.
Yeah.
Yes, so he is our baby. So yeah, no children, but he filled that role very admirably. I mean, he was.
German Shepherds
he,
usually do.
oh gosh, he really was. It's just like, oh yes, mommy. Let's play ball. Let's do this. Let's do that. Take me to McDonald's. Let's do that.
I just
Okay.
got, so I'm totally going to sidetrack us for just a quick second. I got off the phone with my mom this morning. She has a golden lab. She has a
Oh,
lab.
okay. Uh-huh.
And I have been encouraging my mom to get out by herself more. Like, go do things, self-care for you. Go enjoy a day. Like, get away from the farm for a little bit. Go do your thing. She's like,
Yeah.
well, Faith and I went somewhere. And I was like, McDonald's doesn't count. She's like, we didn't go to McDonald's. We went to Hardee's. It's like,
Yes, right, right.
so
That's
all
great.
you puppy parents out there.
I know. I was one, yeah, one of those puppy parents. We had him, got him when he was like 2 months, no, 12 weeks old. Yeah.
Oh.
So he was. But yeah, that was
Okay, so
pretty well. But
so
anyway,
helping people manage their lives has been a challenge.
that's the challenge. But also trying to manage my own professionally, continuing to learn and expand, look at what I want to do. That's also been a challenge because I say, okay, what do I want to do when I grow up? And I still am thinking that I've not even reached my pinnacle yet. I believe, God has a purpose for me. I don't know where it's going to land, but he does. And I'm trying to, reach out and try different things. And sometimes it is kind of challenging trying to go into something new and do new things. So yeah, that can be a little bit, uh, and trying to continually overcome a speech impediment I had since I was a kid, which is why I got into communications in the first place, to overcome it. And I have parents who attacked it early, but sometimes it rears its ugly head and it comes back. So when I'm talking to people, I get a little flustered and it like, oh, okay, it comes back. So I gotta calm myself, calm down, think. So I can identify with people like Joe Biden, who, when he struggles, I understand what he's going through. It's like, yeah, I get it.
I
You
would
can't think
never
of,
have known you had challenges
yes, thank you. Thank
with any
you.
of that. Yeah, no, not in any of our connections before.
Oh, God bless you. But yeah, I did. I still do. But yeah, I'm getting better. Yeah, I get better. So
Okay, so through the course of your life,
mhm.
and I'm going to be totally tactless. So for those of you who are not actually watching this episode, because some of you may know, we have the YouTube channel, we have the Facebook page, a
Uh-huh.
recorded video, we share it everywhere. So it's not just an audio podcast. But for
Okay.
those of you who can't see Wanda, you'll know she's different than me. So one of the things that I was also going to ask is, I understand part of the big challenges is one of our hot topics of the day, but so is your influencers. Like, who has influenced you the most in your life? Because, like, in the green room, we talked about Diana Ross. That was fun.
Sure.
And not for the reason you think.
Oh,
She's a great
no.
singer, sure, great entertainer, but
Yeah.
that wasn't
No.
mine.
Oh gosh, I've had a lot of heroes. I and um gosh, let me think about it. My mom was one of my big influencers. When I think about my mother, because like you were saying, we are different because I am African American, and she grew up in the South in Jim Crow, during Jim Crow.
Really? Because see, but based on your South Bend reference, I just assumed you guys were all north. Okay.
Well,
Well,
we
now we're
were. Well, okay. I'll tell her backstory too. She met my father. He was in the Air Force, and
oh,
in Louisiana. She was born in Louisiana and pretty much grew up there. And she met my father. She was on her second marriage because she married early, but that didn't work out obviously because it was a teenage marriage and she got out and
look, I
um,
know that feeling. So yeah. It doesn't always happen well that first time out.
she supported herself and my half brother. We were out alone, and then she met my father. He was in the Air Force in Bossier City, Louisiana.
Okay.
So they got married, and then eventually they made their way up to the north where his parents were in South Bend, Indiana.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I was
Now
born in
there's the
Shreveport.
connection.
Shreveport, Louisiana is when I was where I was born. But I call South Bend, Indiana home because that's all I knew. I don't remember Shreveport as a child. I've been there many times, but back since then. But no, I don't recall. South Bend is where I've grown up. I went to schools there, public schools, proud product of that institution. Fine public schools when it was great. It's kind of.
Your public school, I'm sure, looked a lot different than my cornfield public school. So,
Yeah, well, not too much different, I don't think. And it was just a small town area. I loved it. And um, she, I tell you what, that lady, she spoke her mind, but she worked in the field. Not in the fields, but she worked in the plants. I'm sorry, she worked in the cornfields when she was younger, but uh, she could do everything, anything. But when you're going through that Jim Crow era and in the era where she was, women, and if you were an African American woman,
you just didn't
so
stand a
you
chance.
didn't. No, you didn't. And your opportunities weren't very many, weren't numerous. So probably what she did, she had a lot of talents. I think if she were to actually influenced or pushed a little bit, she could have been a lot more than what she was, because that lady could hot wire a car. She could fix an electrical wire, and she could have done all that. And she pushed me a little bit. And I think she lived a little bit vicariously through me, but I think through all of us, all her girls, she wanted us to do better and to be better and have more opportunities. So she pushed us in towards college. I'm the only one that went to college. Other ones went to trade school nursing, but she knew. She says, even though I had that speech impediment, she pushed me out. And they said, no, they're not gonna let this hold you back. We'll get training for it. And my parents did attack, and then they said, okay, you'll get better. And then she put me in pageants. Oh gosh, when I was eighth
You were
grade.
in pageants.
Yes, I was selected as Miss Black Expo in South Bend.
Do you have a little tiara and everything?
I had a little sash, and I had a big old what was
Award,
it? A trophy.
trophy.
Yeah, I don't know where that trophy is now. I have no idea, but it was funny and it was fun. So she pushed me in those areas. So she was my main influencer, I think, because she says, get out and live. Just live, do something. Don't just stay here and matriculate. Go beyond and see what you can do. And she was the one that introduced me to colleges, and she made sure I stayed around that environment when I was young. She would take me to Notre Dame, which is in South Bend, Indiana. We go
Uh-huh.
over there. We go to the other colleges. We visit, and she would say, "Yeah, you're going." I didn't want to go to Purdue. Well, Purdue wasn't my first choice. I wanted to go to an HBCU, which is in New Orleans, but given that our finances were a little bit, we had the financing, but I couldn't get any scholarship money. So
Yeah, if in-state financing is different than trying
yes,
to go out of state. I'm sure
right,
every parent knows
right.
that.
So yeah, we made a little bit too much money. My parents did to get the financing. So Purdue was my second choice, and I'm glad I made that decision. It really was. It's a great school. It really
Yeah,
is.
Purdue's a great. I mean, where I came from, out in the middle of BFE, although we affectionately call BFE,
Okay.
it's Washington County, so it's not quite Salem. It's not quite anything. It's just out in the middle of nothing.
Right.
Uh, pig farms and cornfields is what I grew up around.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so most of my graduating class either went to Purdue
Uh-huh.
or Vincennes University or a trade school for hair
Right. Right.
or secretary stuff. So
Huh?
I was the only one in my class that went to IU Bloomington. I
It
know.
was good. It was all good. A lot of my classmates went to IU Bloomington, which is why I pivoted and went the opposite way. So I said, I went to high school with you guys. I don't want to go to college with you either.
You know, honestly, I kind of looked at my crew that was going to Purdue. I was like, I don't want to be around them at all. Actually, it was because of the music, and plus I got I went in as a I did double major. So music performance and audio technology was my double major. There, I didn't last as long as I should have. So had a lot of anxiety issues that caused me some problems, and I ended up coming back home. But part of the fun is I was actually a flag girl in the marching 100. I know, it was awesome. So I do love me some football games every once in a while, and I'm like, oh, I get nostalgic. So
yes, so do I. I do too. I've not been back to the campus, but it's expanded quite a bit. They bought out Kaplan University.
Oh, wow.
And now they're one of our main competitors in terms of adult learning. So that's good. That's, you know, it's all good.
That's right.
It's good.
It's all good. It's all good. So what has been the biggest influence or the biggest piece of advice you've gotten over the years that you've just held on to and used over and over?
Always seize the day, and always look for opportunities to get better, to be better. That's the best advice I've always heard, and I've heard it from pastors. You know, don't just stay where you are. Always keep growing, keep learning. Yeah, just learn, because you never know what opportunities will come your way when you are prepared, when you are learning, or who you will meet, who will give you or who will feed your business or feed your occupation or feed you emotionally or spiritually.
Feed your soul, right? Just sometimes you just need a uplift moment.
You sure do. Yeah. So yes, always keep learning. Always. So
I mean, that's what those coffee chats are for on Friday mornings for us in the chamber,
right? I met so many people. You guys are just great. I always get on there and I laugh. Josh is just like, he's just super funny. It's just like, oh, the chamber is just like the wigs he comes up with, the costumes. It's like, oh, you've outdone yourself this time. Yeah.
You did miss Friday. So for all of our listeners,
heard about it. I heard about it. It's like, oh, the wig. Oh.
So for our listeners, for the sake of like, what are they talking about? So our Chamber of St. Matthews, our sponsor partner, when COVID started, of course, all events got shut down and we had to pivot. And so how do you still network and do all the things? Well, of course, we already had a plan somewhat in place because we were trying to do all that in addition to live events, bring everybody into technology. So we just switched over to technology and they started the coffee chats. Well, it turned into our, you know, back in school, whenever you guys would dress up for a theme day, it became our own spirit week, right? Through the chamber. We are definitely professional people, but we may not show up like it on Friday mornings.
I don't do as many as you do. I mean, your costumes are just like, oh my gosh. I mean, you come up with some ingenious ones. And I mean, folks, really, seriously, this lady, Christy, when we have a theme, yes, she addresses it and she takes it by the horns and she really goes full tilt. So it's like, okay, you've got to, I don't know if anybody else can join us. I don't think they can join the Zoom calls or go to Facebook. But
all you have to do is say on Facebook, just follow the chamber on Facebook.
Let's follow. Yeah. So if anyone's listening and they want to hop in on a Friday, please do. It's a lot
just for entertainment value alone.
That's it. That really is it. I mean, it's like, oh my goodness. It's like, yes.
So I always like to provide an environment where I go and I work with people. It's part of the element of my business too, is that we
Yeah.
take what we do very seriously. Just like,
Yes.
I know the environment of Webster is you take what you do very seriously, but in all
Yes.
honesty, do we have to take ourselves that serious? Like we need to just lighten
Never.
up a little bit.
Never. Never, ever, 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 ever. No. I'm just
Never.
kidding. No.
So, okay, what does success look like for you?
Oh, okay. Success means to me is that you're thriving and you're always growing. It's not about financial means or gains, even though that's part of it, but that's not an indicator of you being successful. If you are impacting, you are supplying a need, or if you are, like I said, as we said before, feeding into somebody else's soul, or helping them, or being a conduit, you're successful. That's just simple. It really is. It really is. It's all the tangible things. Yeah, we understand that. You get the accolades, you get notoriety, you get the awards. That's great. Fine. But when you stand before the Lord and you say, okay, well, what else did you do? What did you do to impact somebody's life? Behind the scenes. What advice did you give them? Did you follow through with them? Did you check on them? Did you really care about them? And the most successful people, Mother Teresa, she was one of the most
Yep.
successful people who I admire, because it wasn't about her, it was about what she did. So, just giving, just loving people. And I just love folks. I try to come alongside people when they're hurting. I'm a very empathetic, sympathetic person that I sometimes take on too much, and I listen to people and I get emotional, and it's just like, oh, really? And to the point where I just like morph myself into their problems, and I'm trying to be a little bit more refrained. But no, no. It's all about caring. I think that if you're successful, you care about people. Um, and it's behind the scenes. It's not in front. It's what you do behind the scenes. So that's success to me.
So we've talked about all kinds of things. This is one of the things I enjoy about doing interviews like this because
Uh-huh.
honestly, just being the host of this podcast feeds my soul because I learn so much from everybody.
Uh-huh.
If you were to impart some advice out there to business owners,
Uh-huh.
what would it be?
Try to build relationships. Just build the relationships. Don't, as someone else said, don't set out with the mindset of trying to get a customer. Find out what someone's needs are right now. What do they need? But you listen. You just got to listen. It's like, okay, let's listen. First of all, let's build that relationship. And from there, let's see how I can help you if I can. Maybe I can. Maybe this just, for example, not everyone is suited to go to grad school. They just may not have the time. So I just like,
Right.
okay, maybe something else, maybe a certificate program is for you. So I listen to their needs and try to give them, some kind of encouragement. Say, all right, well, right. So um, I don't know who said this, but I think maybe at the chamber, but it's just not about, getting business for you. You want to build those relationships. It has to be that way. If you want to grow your business, you have to. And I
And
think you may have said that too. Yeah, I think you said it. I think you did.
it
I
is
think it
one
was
of the
you.
things
I think it was you. I said, "No, wait a minute." I said, "I don't think she said that." But it was so profound. And I think, yes, right.
it is honestly, that is one of the greatest things to keep that as the mindset.
Yeah.
And I, in a roundabout way, have learned from other influencers that I have
Uh-huh.
that you have to ask yourself whenever you're starting out with the business, are you in it for a long term,
Okay.
right? Are you in it
Yeah.
for the legacy or are you in it to make money?
Right.
Like, what are you doing this for ultimately? And that, as part of that, because it feeds the mindset, and it also helps you figure out, like, I'm not paying the bills this month. What do I do from here? Like, that you start to question everything at that point when you're
Sure.
right, not making the bills. Then it becomes a, why am I doing this? Where's my head? Where's the energy going?
Right.
And if I'm not building the relationships to feed that, like, sometimes it's going to take a longer time, right, to build a relationship base that
It is.
trusts me to, because what I do is I get it all in their business. Like,
Okay.
they're opening it all up to me, and it takes time. Well,
Yeah.
in the meantime, I got
Uh-huh.
to pay the rent, right? So
Yes.
that is one of the things that I do say to myself a lot of, you're in it for the relationship, not to earn the buck.
Right.
So,
Right.
and when you carry that energy into a room to
Mm-hmm.
network or new customer or whatever,
Right.
like, you feel that one way
Mm-hmm.
or another, just like a dog can smell fear. It's an
Right.
energy thing. And so, yeah, that is a good, I love that piece of advice, Wanda. I love it.
'Cause I got it from you. I mean, you said that, and it's stuck with me. So yeah, that's right. That's true. Because yes, we do need the sales. We do need the students. And when we don't get them, there are consequences. We're small, and we're nowhere near as large as U of L or any of the other schools. So that are around us. So well, yeah, we're kind of, there's a struggle there. However, I'd rather get the person in there that I know, who I brought there with the intention of their wanting to be there, first of all, because I've built that relationship and I understand where they're coming from. And I can direct them in the right way, in the right program, and they could, okay, yeah, this is where I belong, as opposed to getting someone in through the door and they're just not, well, I'm not feeling this is really, and they're struggling, or they just don't want to be there.
Right.
I just don't want that. Either you want to do what you can do to advance your skills and develop your abilities, or you don't. It's up to you. It's I can't do it for you. And as my campus director would say, I cannot want it more than you do. You've got to want it more than I do, because this is your life.
That's also
It
another
should
great
be.
piece of advice. Like,
Yeah.
if somebody else can't want it, and honestly, like, think about when people are hiring employees, like, you're recruiting students, but we're hiring employees. An
Right.
employee is not going to want it more than the owner,
Right. Right.
ever.
Never. Ever. Ever.
So yeah, that's also, that's a twofer. Like, that's a great 2-for-1 piece of advice there. Yeah, yeah. I just went in
Yeah.
5 different directions in my head at the same time. I'm like, okay, that means we probably need to start wrapping this one up, because there's
Oh,
so much we could still talk about. Um,
yeah.
do you have any last parting comments? Any last stories you want to tell us?
Oh gosh, I'm just so happy to meet you, Christy. And we have to chat off camera and off the
Yeah, we'll go
recording.
back to the green room here in a minute.
Yeah, because yeah, I'm thinking of some things, what's my second act?
Uh-huh.
So, and I don't know what I want to do. So, but you see, you strategize, and I know that you're just great at what you do. So, and I
Well,
just
if I
want
had had a guide like you at Bloomington back in the day, I probably would have stuck with that. And who knows where I would have been. So, but I didn't have a solid relationship first guide to guide me, like, help me figure
ah,
life out. Oh no, I
no
completely failed.
recruitment, no academic advice. Mine got me through because I was a fledgling student at Purdue. It was pretty tough. So she
Oh
had
no.
to walk me through some things.
I apparently, I was told, so, and we'll wrap this up. I was told by my vocal instructor, because I'd never had lessons before, and I got in on vocal performance. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so at the time, back in the day, I was still pretty good with raw talent, but she told me I was there to fill a quota. And so that's how I got treated in the entire system, is that I just came in as this number. And that's how it went. It was very interesting that, sometimes you come full circle in your career and then you kind of start over. Like God gives you those opportunities to
Yes.
let's reconcile this chunk of your life and start it over again. You don't have to completely destroy every dream you ever had. We're just going to make some adjustments here.
That's
So,
right.
yeah. So, and then along the way, so wrapping it back to small business small talk. So along the way, overcoming those challenges, being a lifelong learner, developing the relationship, because I wouldn't have a strong support system now if it wasn't for being able to develop relationships.
Yes.
And then always be willing, right? Always be willing to be flexible and keep going.
Yeah. Yes, always. I mean, if I can say that to my younger self or anybody that's young that's listening to this, always, be open to develop your skills. Always keep growing. It doesn't matter what it is. If you are going to be a garbage collector, all right, then be at the top of your game. Just keep growing. Don't stay stagnant in any case. I mean, because there are some areas in my life where I've stagnated and it's just like it cost me something. And it's just like, now, nope, I've learned. So I keep building, keep growing, whatever it is, you keep going.
Exactly.
You're never done until you're 6 feet under. So that's when it's over.
Right. You can sleep when you're dead.
Right.
Actually, no, I'm going to take a nap tomorrow. So why are you planning ahead?
That's eternity. So you got eternity to sleep. I mean, well, you don't, but
I'll never sleep in eternity. I don't know what people are thinking.
No, I don't plan to. I mean, I hope, hope God has some plans for me beyond this life. I hope, I think he does. So.
I ain't doing all of this for nothing.
I know. Seriously, girl. Seriously.
Okay, so we're going to wrap this up.
It's been
I want to thank everybody for listening to this point. If you're still sticking with us, I hope that you've gotten a lot out of it, a lot of good information, a little inspiration, and definitely some laughs with us. So be sure to subscribe at all of our channels. If you're watching, hit the subscribe button. Make sure to leave us comments, give us some input and feedback. Also, make sure you subscribe to the podcast channels. So Spotify is definitely up at the top of the list, iTunes. If you go to smallbusinesssmalltalk.com, it can take you wherever you need to go from there. So, or you can even ask Alexa, and what do you know? She'll play the latest episode. So I thank you again. Wanda, thank you very much for being my guest today. I'll make sure to have your information. Where's the best way they can find out more about Webster?
Sure. They can go on to www.webster.edu and look at the graduate programs. Of course, there is undergraduate online, but we have the undergraduate tab. You click on that and it gives you more information. Or you can give me a call at the office at 502-896-1835, and I'll try to answer your questions as best I can. Or we can do a Zoom talk and we can set up an appointment. It's not an academic advising, but I could walk you through some steps and we can talk about the application process as well.
Perfect. So I'll include that in the description for this episode, and that way people can connect with you as well. So again, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, Wanda, for being my guest today. You and I are going to go back into the green room while I send everybody off to enjoy the rest of their day. Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye.